Welcome back to Rules of Engagement. I hope you guys enjoyed the last two segments about how to use battle cruisers in TVT, and then how to use mobility to gain a great advantage in PvP with a little bit of unorthodox expansion placement. We're about to start on a ZVT about how to use a Roach Queen Nidus build and all the things that can work with that. But first, let me remind you guys, please tweet me questions, tweet at axslav. Any questions you tweet at me, I will answer at the end of the show on the last segment, or if I miss them on this show, I'll catch them tomorrow at the end of that segment as well. So let's jump right into the ZVT about how to use the Roach Queen Nidus. A couple of the things that are most important is one, you have to ensure it is not scouted. I'll tell you a couple techniques to help with that. Then you have to make sure your build is perfectly streamlined. Any type of timing build or cheesy build you do needs to be perfectly streamlined, because every little second counts. Every extra unit can make the difference between a victory and a loss in those situations. And then you have to know how to prioritize your actions during the middle of this craziness battle engagement that's going to be happening. So let's jump into the replay and talk about how to ensure your build isn't scouted. So one thing to note here is that this is Effort versus Flash. Of course, Flash is a crazy player. He's scouted the fact that Effort got a gas. But what Effort's going to do here is he's only scouted as 100 gas mined. If Flash never scouted here, Effort would not get Zergling speed. But the fact that Flash scouts the fact that there is gas this early, what you need to do if your opponent scouts your gas, you need to give them a reason why that gas was taken. Normally, he could be already teching lair. The Nidus could hit extremely fast, teching lair as soon as his queen is out. The Nidus could hit extremely fast. But because Flash scouted it, if Flash just doesn't see anything for the next 2 minutes, he's going to say, wait a minute, why was all that gas being mined early? He must have gone fast lair. I should watch out for super fast mutas, Nidus play, and he'll just scout his base and he'll be safe. But what Effort does is he gets the speed first. And this means that all he has to do is show the fact to Flash that he got these speedlings. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so he's running around with speedlings, threatening SCVs. This is a common Zerg play. And Flash is like, okay, he got the gas to get speed, just to mess around with my workers and make sure I can't harass too much with Hellions. It's not that big a deal. It's a fairly standard Zerg play. My alarm bells aren't going off. So if your opponent scouts you getting gas fast, give them a reason why you would have gotten that gas that doesn't involve getting a Nidus play. So that's why he shows the Zergling speed, says, you know what, this is why I got the gas. Flash is like, okay, that seems reasonable, but really he's doing this mass Nidus play. The next step is you want to streamline your build. So I kind of fast forwarded through it because this is Effort's build, and if you guys want to take this exact build, what we would do is you go to our VOD section, mlg.tv. Within a couple hours, these VODs will be up there, and in the description of each one of these, description of the segment for the VOD is going to have a link to the replay. So you can grab the replay there, check out his exact build. But if you want to make your own build, your own cheesy build, let's say you do a Nidus versus Protoss, and it's a little bit different, it's the speedlings, or you're Terran and you do a 2-base push, whatever build you want to do that's timing, the key elements to streamline a build is one, you take benchmarks and you practice on improving them. So Effort says, okay, actually fast forward to the point where Nidus is completed. Effort says, okay, I completed Nidus at 8 minutes and 14 seconds. I'm able to have, at this point, I'm able to have 12 roaches, 2 queens, and 2 zerglings, and send those through the Nidus. That's everything I can send through the Nidus. And then he could keep practicing this build and say, you know what, can I get more units by 8:14, or can I get the Nidus faster at the same amount of units? Practice a bunch of different tweaks, see if you can improve that benchmark. If you can't, well, maybe you found the right build. The other important thing to do is figure out your production and the necessary income to support it. So right now, his production is going to be 2 hatcheries with roaches, right? How many drones does he need to support that production? If he says, okay, I need 34 drones to be able to produce sufficiently with everything. Well, you know what? If he was making 30, maybe he should, once you know how many workers, you want to rush to that worker count and then do the build. If you're getting 60 workers and launching a timing build, but you can't even use the income you got from 60 workers, they were a waste. You should have spent, should have gone 34 workers like he did, and the other 26 workers, that money could have been in faster roaches, faster Nidus, could have pushed up the speed of the build. Or maybe you're doing it with 3 hatches and 3 queens, and then of course you need more income to support that increased production. But know what your production is and how much income you need to support it, both in minerals and in gas. So now that you figured out how to streamline your build, you're gonna go and you're gonna think about action prioritization during this battle. So we're gonna play through this battle, talk about the different things you should prioritize. So 1, macro should always take priority over everything. So right here, he's building queens. He's gonna be, as soon as he loses roaches or finishes the overlord, he's always gonna prioritize building more units over any micro action. Macro should always take priority. I don't care what's going on in the battle with a build like this. If it's a timing build, if it's just roaches, you can just take a second or 2 to macro, then jump back to the battle. Should always make sure you're never delaying your macro, but you should not be spending much time on it. If you're spending more than a couple seconds doing your macro, you're doing something wrong, your macro is not very efficient. That's something you should take a look at. It should only take a couple seconds to do those injects, and then hit your hockey for the hatcheries, and then build whatever units you want to build. Your rally points should all be on your Nidus canal. You can see that, right? His rally points are all there, so the macro, all he has to do is just build larva, turn larva into units, and then hit those injects. And the interesting thing about the way this build is designed is that the queens, see this queen? After it injects once, it just walks into the Nidus canal. And the next queen that pops out is going to pop out the same time this inject finishes, because injects are, or slightly later, because injects are 40 seconds, queen production is 50 seconds, but the queen pops out, it'll inject once, then walk into the Nidus. So each queen that's produced will inject and walk into the Nidus. That's kind of the rhythm of the build. It works out really, really well, because you want that constant queen reinforcements to help spread creep to their base, and of course also to deal with the banshees, and as well as just their basic combat ability. So now that you know that macro should be the most important thing, the next thing to talk about is what you should be targeting, right? So of course, if there's units, you just fight those units. Just do whatever it takes to kill the units in front of you, just attack move, make sure the overseer is there in case they have cloak. But then once you kind of push units back, and you might not want to engage a bunker, so once that gets up and he gets a couple guys in there, you probably want to stay back. Then you have a choice here. Your next goal is to make sure he produces as few units as possible, because of course the less units he has, easier it is to win the game when you're attacking him. Now there's 2 things that can happen. The one thing is, first you want to target the weakest link in their production capacity. And there's 2 things that allow your opponent to produce units. One is money, and the second is going to be buildings that produce units. So if they have only a few production buildings, you want to target the buildings, because all the money in the world can't help them unless they can turn that into units. This is a situation if we look at, let's jump on the touchscreen here. If they have a lot of income, which Terrans always do because they can drop mules. It looks like he doesn't, but he can drop mules at his expansion probably. He'll be okay. So if they have a decent production, a decent economy, but not very many units, you want to go over here and target the production buildings. So kill those. On the other hand, if they have, let's say, a pretty good amount of production buildings, let's say he had 6 barracks here, then you would say, you know what? Killing 1 barracks doesn't make a big deal, because I kill the barracks, he's still making 5 marauders, and they're still going to kill me. What I should do there is go after the economy, and maybe even attack at the mini-map, attack up here a little bit too. Attack both sections of economy, and that way they can't use the production. So whichever is the weakest link at their production capacity, it's either going to be production buildings or income, go after the weaker link when you do this build. So we can jump back in the game. This game, it's going to be the production buildings, because he only has 3. So he's going after the tech lab first, because then he can't make marauders anymore. And marauders are, of course, one of the strongest units against roaches. And then he's going to go after the barracks, because it's the next closest production building. Of course, anytime units are in his way, he's going to attack them, but he doesn't want to chase the units because of that bunker. And then once he forces the barracks out, he's going to go after the starport, because, of course, if he gets enough banshees that can overwhelm the queens, all of a sudden that can hold the defense as well. But notice the entire time, he's going to be cranking out his units just right, and he's just waiting for losses. The reason why he hasn't built overlords here is because he's expecting to lose units and just build replacements for them. That's where his money's going to be spent. But macro should always take priority, and then micro, and he went for the production buildings first because those are the ones that that was the weakest link into production. Flash was unable to build more units, no more Banshees, no more Marauders. Hellions on their own cannot deal with roaches. That's what led effort to win this game. So it's kind of a cool little Nidus play, but let's talk about cheese builds in general. Do a recap on the 3 things that's important when you're executing kind of a quirky build like this. One is you have to ensure it's not scouted. If they do scout something that is a little bit offbeat, give them a different reason to think of that. If your Protoss or Dark Templar rushing, they see an early gas, maybe go send 2 Stalkers at them. It'll delay your DTs a little bit, but they'll say, oh, he got some Stalkers early. That's probably why he got that gas. For this case, it was sending Zergian Speed out. Just so he believes it's Zergian Speed, he does not think about that Nidus possibility. Then you have to make sure that build is streamlined. That's going to involve benchmarking your timestamps on different units, how many units you have at a different time, and trying to improve on those, and also understanding your production capacity and the right amount of workers to support that production capacity. And of course, last is going to be the action prioritization. Always prioritize micro, and then when it comes down, or always prioritize macro, excuse me. Then when it comes down to the micro, you want to focus the things that damage your production the most. And of course, also, if you're a different race, there might be some micro tricks to employ as well, force fields, etc. Hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Rules of Engagement. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with the question and answer period.